guys, welcome to a bit of a different thing today. We're doing a sort of like a bit of a podcast. I'm Matthew Toffolo, aka Batman March, and I'm joined by Billy Garratt-John,
Hello.
aka Billy Garratt-John.
I haven't got a proper YouTube title yet.
How are you doing, Billy?
I'm very well, very hot.
It's too warm. It is far too warm.
We're at the beginning of this heat wave at the moment.
Yeah.
It's supposed to last for some of the week, and the fan is going, so apologies, audience, if you hear some rumbling in the background.
So today we're going to discuss two fairly recent topics, both of which came out last week. So that was penultimate week of June, so around the 23rd, something like that. We're going to be talking about the Underwater Menace DVD release, which has now been confirmed as cancelled by Doctor Who magazine. And we're also going to be talking about Big Finish's recent announcement that they have the new series license for Doctor Who. Not to do stories with the new Doctors, but they're allowed to use new monsters and characters from the new series. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the box sets that they've announced. So, shall we begin with the Underwater Menace?
Absolutely.
So, for people listening who don't know, Underwater Menace is actually the earliest surviving Patrick Troughton story. Episode 2 of that story is the earliest surviving Patrick Troughton episode. And it was due for release on DVD this year. It was meant to be much like the 10th Planet and the Moon Base. It was going to have animated reconstructions of the two missing episodes, episodes 1 and episode 4. Unfortunately, this got delayed, and there was nothing really concrete coming from the BBC, and it was just sort of like, yeah, you know, we'll tell you about it when we're ready, sort of thing. And unfortunately, they never did. And in this month's Doctor Who magazine, they've come around and said, actually, the DVD has now been abandoned. So that was the final story to be released. It was actually the 600th episode. It would have been the 600th episode, that episode 2. Obviously, episode 3, it was episode 3, wasn't it? It was previously released on the Lost in Time box set. Billy, what do you think about this?
Well, it's tragic, isn't it? I mean, earlier in the year, actually, oddly enough, to the day that the last classic series DVD was brought out, the Web of Fear, on the 24th of February, was the day they announced it was removed from the schedules.
Really?
I've just found out. Thank you very much, Doctor Who Online.
Excellent.
It's incredibly sad. But what makes me even more angry about it is the fact that they went out afterwards to say, we're hoping to release some more classic Doctor Who and we'll let you know when we have news.
Yes, now I wanted to bring this up as well because I thought, well, this is quite odd because you haven't got any more classic Doctor Who to release.
Well, you know, we've talked about this in the videos before. We've talked about some of the stuff they could bring out. But then again, you know, I personally didn't. I mean, loads of people were saying, "Oh, it's not complete if you don't bring out the Underwater Menace." I'm still hoping that they may do the Crusade because that still has the same amount of surviving episodes that they can afford to do animations for.
It's very strange that they decided that, okay, we've got these two stories, they're in the exact same scenario, but we'll bring out Underwater Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I guess it was because Underwater Menace had episode 2, which still hasn't been released to the general public.
And I think it was because that was more recently released, you know, the Crusade, you know, that they found what they had of that episode years and years ago. This wasn't a news story per se.
Yeah.
So they could sort of ride on the tide of, you know, the Enemy of the World and the Web of Fear had, that they could release it and say, oh, triumphantly, it's back, you know, it's returned and we've got some reconstructions of it.
I'm kind of surprised that they didn't sort of think, well, perhaps if this is going to be the final Troughton story, because the Moonbase had already come out, hadn't it, by that point? And so had 10th Planet. I'm surprised they didn't sort of think, well, let's put a bit of money. You know, they'd already recorded the special features for the Underwater Menace. Commentary had been done, all the other documentaries and bits and pieces had been done. I'm surprised they didn't think, well, let's go ahead and put a bit of extra money into Web of Fear and Enemy of the World and release it as a 3 DVD box set, sort of like a little an unconnected trilogy. But it would have at least been something sort of like, you know, the final box set, you know, something. They could have done something with it.
Absolutely. I think they were far too eager to rush out Enemy of the World and the Web of Fear, because they found it. Oh well, here we go. We're going to release it on iTunes,
Yeah,
and we're going to have a big release for it, and we're going to have a screening it. I think it was at the BFI or something, and
yeah.
it was incredibly exciting. I think they were too eager to get the money from those releases to bother investing in the future state of the range.
It was a very quick cash grab. It all happened right on top of the 50th anniversary. The BBC were just being money grabbers, weren't they? Really.
Absolutely.
And according to Doctor Who magazine, they actually did turn around to the restoration team of the whoever was working on the DVDs at the BBC. When they found Web of Fear and Enemy of the World, they did turn around to them and say, look, here's a budget for you to make some special features. But according to this, the budget was so appallingly small, smaller than it had ever been, that it was just impossible to do anything with it.
Wow, nothing at all. That surprised me, considering even on the early DVDs way back in 99 to 2000 2001, they could still put on the odd TARDIS cam or something.
Yeah,
They had literally so little money they couldn't get Mike Tucker in to record some TARDIS shots. It's pretty appalling behaviour on their behalf, really.
I think they did say that they were thinking about trying to mount some sort of a commentary, because I think they did get in contact with Fraser Hines and Deborah Watling, probably because that is probably the cheapest thing to do, is just to get the two surviving actors and just bung them in a room, talk about the damn thing. But that all got cancelled because I guess the BBC again just wanted to get it out there as quickly as possible and just make a quick buck.
And who wants to listen to two old farts blabbering on? It's honestly, I think they must have some sort of reaction like that to some of it, because especially if it's BBC Worldwide making the grand sweeping statements to, we'll just release it as it is, we won't give you any money for it.
Yeah.
You wonder if To Entertain actually had anything to do with the eventual release of those things. I mean, even down to something as simple as, have you noticed that the plastic on the DVD case is flimsier for those two releases than any other in the
Is
range?
it really?
Honestly, it warps on the shelf so easily. There's just
Wow.
something, there's something absolutely wonderful about seeing them on the shelf, but knowing that it is such a piss poor release,
Yeah,
it's really depressing.
because initially they said, okay, we're going to release it with animation, and everyone was like, hooray! And then they said, well, it's going to have reconstructions, and everyone was like, oh, so you mean like the Web of Fears sort of badly put together
Mm,
photographs? Which, to be honest, I wouldn't have minded so long as it was something by this point, because it had already dragged on by this point that the DVD was sort of in this limbo. It would have been nice just to have got episode 2 for the
yeah.
people who hadn't seen it. And I think this is the big problem with this release, is that only a few people have seen this episode because of a screening at the BFI. Obviously, the other episode they found at the same time, Galaxy 4's episode 3, Airlock, that has already been released. They managed to shoehorn that.
Sure.
They managed to shoehorn that into the Aztec special edition. But then there's this episode, and it's just like, well, no one's seen it. Balls to them.
It
Who
makes
cares?
it does make me wonder when they say there are classic series releases coming. I think at some point we're going to get some fragmented box set of odds and ends.
Is that what it's going to be called? The odds and ends
The odds
box
and
set?
ends set. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it'll be stuff like Curse the Fatal Death.
Yeah.
The documentaries from Doctor Who Night.
Yeah, I was going to
Um,
say Doctor Who Night. That needs to come out.
I'd love to see that, because for me that was that was literally the genesis of my involvement with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
If that show hadn't been on, I would not have heard of it at that time.
You wouldn't be sat here talking to me today.
I know. Oh, I missed out on so much. So I really think they are going to go for the cash grab thing, and we've mentioned it actually in the last video we did, which you can find on youtube.com/Batman Much. We were talking about the brand identity of Doctor Who,
Yes.
and I think all of this will tie into, do you want a Dalek tea towel? No, I fucking don't. I want the Underwater Menace on DVD, properly reconstructed, and I also want to hear that you're working on The Crusade. The chances of that happening are about as low as Moffat leaving at this point.
I
So,
think so.
you
I
know,
think we've got more chance of John Nathan Turner rising from the grave in a Hawaiian t-shirt
yeah,
and storming the production office. Like you said, if they do cobble together some sort of weird box set, that in itself would be quite mad, because that would be a, well, to me at least, I think that would be quite a fan specific thing, because
Mm,
sort of Joe Public isn't going to go into HMV and say, "Oh, Doctor Who, the odds and sods box set. Well, let's see what's on here. Oh,
yeah.
okay, Underwater Menace episode 2,
A fix with
right?
the
Where's
Sontarans.
yeah, Fix with the Sontarans with Jimmy Savile edited out. Doctor Who night, Curse of Fatal Death." And they're like, "What is this? What
Mm,
is this menagerie of nonsense?"
yeah, they could
Uh,
call it the Menagerie. That would tie in really nicely with the
put
release of Dimensions in
yeah,
Time.
excellent. Complete with 3D glasses, I hope.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's move on then to the
Okay.
next big thing,
Hmm.
which is Big Finish now has the license to do new series Doctor Who. So they announced this on Saturday the 27th of June, and it was announced with the reveal of a few different box sets. First was the Diary of River Song. There's also a Churchill box set, the name of which escapes me at the moment. Do you
The
know what that
Churchill
is?
years.
The Churchill years, not the Tom Baker years or the Hartnell years, the Churchill
The
years.
Cybermen years.
Cybermen, yeah, Cybermen, the early years. Um, and we also have the second Doom Coalition box set featuring the Eighth Doctor, which now also features River Song. What does that even? My
Mm.
brain has just exploded from the lack of comprehension there. And we also have a classic Doctor's New Monsters. I think the box set's been dubbed or something like
That's
that.
the
But
one I think that probably interests me the most. I've got to say, because the whole thing with Doom Coalition, that could be the kind of thing where, like, oh right, it's going to be like Zagreus. Either it's going to be incredible, or every Doctor Who fan who hears it will hang their head in shame.
yeah,
Um,
I
th-
still haven't heard Zagreus.
don't. The other thing that could happen, I think, is that it could be lauded as an absolute triumph. The BBC will throw money at Big Finish. I mean, giving them the license already is pretty much like throwing money at them. And
Yeah.
yet, did you see anything about this on the main Doctor Who social media channels?
Nope.
Absolutely nothing at all. It's a disgrace. They're only kidding themselves, because they are going to lose out on so much money
It's
by not saying all that stuff.
it's ridiculous, because you'd think, right, we have this whole license, we have this whole audience of new series viewers who have probably never even touched a Big Finish audio book before,
Mm.
and you've got this brand new way of opening this world to them, of selling so many things, so many copies of these CDs. Think of all the fans who adore River Song, who would they buy that box set with her in it and the one with Paul McGann in. They just whip them up like that.
They probably get more money from pre-orders than they have for any other audio story ever.
They probably would. They really are shooting themselves in the foot. No, but they did seem to do some sort of social media stuff when they announced the Torchwood stuff, didn't they?
They
'Cause
did a
that's
little, yeah, because they did talk about John Barrowman. I seem to remember something vaguely going on there.
yeah. So
So
it's like,
it makes me wonder who is actually in charge of these licenses, because of course it's down to BBC Worldwide saying, well, we're going to get the money from it. But
yeah,
is it so disjointed that nobody who is in charge of the Doctor Who Facebook page is following Big Finish and went, oh, Stephen, do you know this is happening? Oh, what? Well, they're doing these stories with River Song. Oh yeah, I signed some wafer for that ages ago. I don't, they've never, they
yeah.
never told me when it's coming out. It's unbelievable.
It's really shocking. It just shows that people at the BBC just they don't know their ass from their elbow, do
No,
they? Really?
they have no idea, no comprehension of what's going on outside the show. And
Yeah,
I put on Twitter, I said, what really should happen is in the same way you used to get, or you actually still get with TV shows nowadays. I was watching Doctor Who Night earlier, and they
yeah,
had a little thing at the end which said, you can buy these various videos and DVDs, blah, blah, blah. They should have something at the end of every Doctor Who story or every other, TV episode that says, and the continuing adventures of the classic Doctors are available in audio drama form from
yeah.
BigFinish.com. That's all you need to do. And it's not even the least you can do, because at least the Facebook page could say the Eighth Doctor Paul McGann is starring alongside new series icon River Song or whatever.
Yeah, it's mad. Even back in the 80s and the 70s, the continuity announcer over the credits would say, and you can buy the Doctor Who theme tune from
Yeah.
your local record shop. Christ, you'd never see that now. Or you can go to Longleat and
Yeah.
see the props up close.
I wonder
It's
if
like,
that's a problem that maybe the BBC has, that you can't really be telling people to go to some other company, regardless of whether or not they have the license.
yeah, it's
Because, you know, Daily Mail readers might get all funny about it, saying, oh, well, they're advertising some other company on the BBC, what's going on, you know, and might get absolutely, you know, crazy about it.
it's very strange. It's very strange that I'm sure the people at Big Finish probably thought, well, for God's sake, help us out here.
And
It is.
Nick Briggs is involved in both facets of the show,
Yeah,
on audio and on TV. I cannot believe for a second that he has not gone to Stephen and say, give us a hand, or, you know, gone to whoever's in charge of that, you know, whoever's in charge. That they have a brand manager now, don't they?
yeah.
Why don't they go to him and say, could you please just let people know that this is happening?
It's bizarre. And I think in the press release they even said that Stephen Moffat, I think, even sort of gave the idea about doing a River Song box set, or doing the River Song meets one of the old Doctors. I'm sure it said something like that in the press release. I don't know if you've got it
Well, I remember you
kicking around.
telling me that Stephen has purposely left gaps in the 11th Doctor's chronology so that they
Yes,
can go back and fill the gaps in with Big Finish stories.
yeah, he did say that at one point. He did say, he said, I've left that open for Big Finish.
Yeah,
So it's nice to know that he. I mean, even if it was just sort of said as like a little wink for the fans, at least on some level, he did sort of think, well, it would be nice for Big Finish to be able to go in and do all this stuff that I'm never going to be able to do
absolutely.
on TV. So I think what we should look at now is what exactly are we getting with these box sets. So
Well, I'd like to direct everybody to the Churchill box set first, because I didn't realise this when I first saw it, but 9, 10, and 11 are on the box set.
yeah,
I surprised myself one morning. I looked at it and went, I didn't see them on it. Is that some new cover they've just released? But how mad is that to see them on a Big
well,
Finish story?
very strange,
I
very
even
strange.
freak out when I see a new Sirius Dalek on there, let alone, you know, the
Yeah,
new Smith Capaldi police box.
yes, that is interesting. I mean, obviously those actors are not going to be
Mm.
in the actual audios themselves. Well, so we believe. I'm sure they would have said by now, because that would have been a major coup to
Absolutely.
to keep under wraps. Although they did keep Ingrid Oliver's casting in the unit box set quiet for quite a long time, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that's probably just out of wanting to build that up as its own, you know,
Yeah.
big thing.
I mean, but that was exciting in itself. That okay, they had done a unit series in the past, but now
Mm.
we're bringing it into the present with Kate Stewart, who, I'll be honest, I find an incredibly dull character. I don't know about you.
I like her, but I can see why you do find her dull.
Do you know what I mean? There's just, I mean, she fills the Brigadier gap, but she doesn't. If you know what I mean, she is like she's there to do it, to do that job.
Well, no one's
But
going to replace Nick, but
no,
you know, yeah, it's almost like, you know, getting somebody else in to voice K9. Like
yeah,
you can see they're trying to fill that character role, but or you know, trying to get Chameleon in to replace
yeah,
K9 at some point later on, you know, but it's not going to be the same because. Well, actually, you know, Chameleon isn't a bad analogy, because if you think that Kate Stewart's dull compared to K9, I mean, Chameleon is nothing.
So we've got the Diary of River Song,
Mm.
which, just to convolute her backstory ever so slightly, I'm sure this will add to that no end. Um, I'll be honest, I don't like the character myself.
Yeah.
What do you think of River Song?
She annoyed me the more that I realised people were pointing out flaws with her, which I
Yeah,
suppose is the detriment of the internet, isn't it? You know, you don't have an opinion unless you go on Tumblr, and then it forms it for you. But then again, I hate Tumblr, so there we go. And that opinion was formed by Facebook, so it's even more convoluted. Yeah, the Diary of a Song. Paul McGann's appearing in it at the end of
oh,
it as
he is, isn't
well.
he? Yeah,
So you know that'll probably tie into the Doom Coalition box set. Who knows? Doom Coalition 1 may even tie into the Diary of River Song.
it might do. But when I saw that Paul McGann was going to be in that, I was like, oh God, that means that I might have to buy it.
I'm going to wait to see. I think for all of these, I'm going to have to wait to see what everybody thinks of them.
Mm.
because at the moment the only one that really appeals to me. I mean, I'll probably get the Doom Coalition stuff if the first one's any good,
Yeah.
but right now out of the gates, the one that attracts me the most is definitely the Classic Doctor's New Monsters box set. Just to hear, what's going on, really. I want to know, from the promotional image we saw Paul McGann in his Night of the Doctor gear.
Yeah,
So
for the
could this
first
be
time.
a Time War story with the
Well,
Sontarans?
well, that's what they've said in the press release. They said it
Right.
was going to be like on the fringes of the Time War.
Ah, okay, cool.
He'll meet the Sontarans. I didn't sort of think about this at first, but then someone posted this on Facebook and they said, "But Sontarans aren't new series monsters."
Yeah. As well, so it will be them in their new series guys on the cover, and it will be
Yeah,
Dan Starkey playing them again, even though he has a history of playing classic
classic
Sontarans for Big
Sontarans.
Finish.
And he does the classic Sontarans very well.
He
I mean, in Dark
does.
Eyes 4, he did a very good job, and it made me think, oh, it's a shame that the people at the BBC, when he's on telly, aren't saying to him, yeah, do it like that. Instead, they write them crap. So I would assume that that would mean that the Sontarans that the Eighth Doctor is going to meet in that story are going to be dim-witted morons.
Possibly.
I guess maybe to add some light relief to the box set, because
Yeah.
we've got a Fifth Doctor story with the Weeping Angels, which
How
is,
that's going to work on audio, I've got no idea.
yeah, I can't understand how they're going to do that. It's going to be very
I
strange.
can I
Oh,
can get this.
Tegan, it moved. What
I
moved?
can get
That's
the sort
statue.
of I can get the jump scare aspect of it,
Yeah,
because going to the Doctor Who experience, they play that sound effect when the angels move. I can
yeah,
sort of get that in the headset, and I can sort of get, oh, it's got slightly closer to us. I
yeah,
can get but the thing is, it's got to be very, very slickly directed to be on audio, because you've got to get that sense of encroaching fear from the story.
yeah. It's this. Well, they're just such a visual idea. It seems. I mean, it's an obvious choice because what is the biggest monster of new series Doctor Who? Well, it's the Weeping Angels. Uh, but like you said, how it will work on audio, very strange. Not sure how that's going to turn out. We've also got the Jadoon with Colin Baker with the
I
Sixth
think they're a
Doctor.
perfect match. That's
Do you
going to be
reckon
absolutely brilliant. Jadoon's shouting down the Sixth Doctor.
that would be
He's
hilarious?
not going to take that lightly. I think that's going to be really funny, that one.
Now it's quite interesting because when the trailer for the new Third Doctor box set with Tim Trelalalala,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there was an element, there was a bit in that trailer where there was an alien that sounded a lot like a Jadoon saying something like "blow tro fo ro
Yeah.
mo." So does that mean that the Jadoon are going to appear in that as well? Was that Big Finish's sort of little wink to the fans, just sort of saying, "Oh, look what's happening.
Yeah.
Things are cooking behind the scenes that you don't know about."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've probably been working on this for a very long time. For,
Oh,
for, for as long as the new series has been on air, they've
yeah,
probably been trying to, get in with them and do this stuff.
more than likely. And of course, we have the Seventh Doctor with the Sycorax.
What do you think of that then?
Now, I thought that was a really good match um, because I thought the Sycorax were one of those monsters that sort of could have come back by now. And I think that the fact that they haven't come back is kind of disappointing because I think you probably could do more with them. I'm not sure if you've read the comic with the 10th Doctor that has like the female Sycorax.
Right, okay.
And it was a very cool idea. There was this whole sort of like voodoo element and stuff, which it works in with the design, the bones and that kind of
Sure,
thing.
sure.
So I think that really that is quite a nice idea to expand upon them because I think it's something that they could have done on TV by now. But I think because it's been such a long time, it probably won't ever happen because I think these days the BBC probably think, oh, that's how X amount of years now, and if it hasn't come back on telly, who's going to remember that?
Sure.
It's kind of more of a novelty with a classic monster, if you know what I mean, because there's more of a heritage to it than the Sycorax. Interesting though. Why didn't they put Tom Baker with a classic monster with a new series monster?
Maybe, well, if he has got all these stories, recorded way in advance, they've said, Tom, we don't need you for another year or two.
Oh,
You
maybe.
can go off and do other work, and then if they do the second box set of classic Doctors, New Monsters,
Yeah.
then they may go, well, it's a coup to get everybody excited for the sequel, even if the first one was shite.
Yeah.
We'll get Tom in, and we'll have Tom versus. Oh, who would Tom be really good against? I think Tom would be very good against the Weeping Angels. I think
Yeah,
that'd be
that sort
cool.
of that because of the dark gothic thing. It
Yeah.
fits with his Doctor. I imagine they do something really annoying, like they do some sort of season 17 thing with the Slovene.
Yeah.
Proper Douglas Adams. Well, actually, Douglas Adams, I don't think would have sunk so low as to do farting aliens on Doctor Who. But
Coming soon from Big Finish, Tom Baker and Peter Kay. That'd be amazing.
So, thank you very much for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. This was kind of like a little tester, a little pilot, should we say, for possible more podcasts in the future. Because Billy and I would like to get out more content because we don't get to see each other very often because of work and university.
It's very sad.
It is very sad. So we thought that this would be quite a nice way of getting our little discussions out to you in a new format,
and also a lot faster because this came out a couple of days ago. We
yeah,
could just say, right, we'll do this podcast for an hour. We'll
yeah,
get it out, and we can get it out to you as soon as it breaks. You don't have to. And that's the thing as well. We get a lot of comments in videos saying, "Oh, what do you think of this and that?" By the time that we get around to recording a video together, it's old news. It's
yeah,
old hat. It's we can't speculate on it anymore because it's already happened.
yeah,
So in this format, we're able to really, we're able to discuss it at length.
yes,
The visual gags, they may not be there, but this new format doesn't mean we're not stopping the videos. It
no.
just means that we can get them out to you quicker and in a different format, and it's just the sort of thing you can lie back, relax, and listen to. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, I think.
I think so. I think that's the way we want to do it. So if you did enjoy this new podcast, please leave a comment in the comment section below and like and subscribe and all that jazz. And yeah, let us know what you think and if there's anything that you think we should be talking about in future podcasts. Should we go on to do more? So thank you very much for joining me, Billy.
Thank you very much, Matt.
And we'll see you guys, or well, you'll listen to us, hopefully, very soon.
Hear you
Thanks
soon,
for listening.
guys.
Cheers.
Hey, that was all right.
Yeah, that was good.
That worked pretty well.